Welcome to Traveller's Guide IELTS, and in this video we're looking at Reading Test 2 from Cambridge IELTS Academic Book 19. We're going to look at the questions, the answers, and why we should have got those answers. But before we go on, please subscribe to the channel, it really helps. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and leave a comment with your opinions. The IELTS reading test has 3 passages, 40 questions, and you get 1 hour to complete the test. Now, the academic and general training modules are slightly different when it comes to the reading parts. Listening and speaking are the same. And your total number of answers converts to a band score according to the table shown. We'll look at that again at the end. So let's get into the test now, and first we have reading passage 1, which is about the Industrial Revolution in Britain. Always read the instructions very carefully before answering the questions, and this says you should spend about 20 minutes on questions 1 to 13, which are based on reading passage 1, which we're about to see. You won't have time to read the whole thing, but before you begin, have a quick scan, maybe read the first part of each paragraph so you have a rough idea of what's going on, and then spend more time studying the questions. Okay, and first we have questions 1 to 7. You need to complete the notes below, and this is very important, 1 word only from the passage. Okay, so the first part about Britain's Industrial Revolution is about steam power. And there is question 1 there we can see. In Watt and Boulton's steam engine, the movement of the something was linked to a gear system. That's question 1. So I've highlighted the words Watt and Boulton, people's names, and then the word movement, because that's where we're going to find the answer. So I would go into this paragraph, because this talks about James Watt and Matthew Boulton, so we must be in the right bit. There we have gear system in the question and gear mechanism in the passage. So I know that the answer must be near here. And movement that we were looking for before, we've got forward and backward strokes. That's a description of movement, forwards and backwards. So that leads me to this word piston. Piston is the correct answer for number 1. Now, it doesn't really matter if you don't know what a piston is. It's part of an engine that goes up and down, in and out, to drive the engine. But even if you've never heard of this word before, you should be able to work it out just from the location of the word within the passage, if you can find the other parts. Right, so moving on to question 2. It is a greater supply of something was required to power steam engines. If you know a little bit about this kind of thing, you might know the sorts of things that you would need to power a steam engine. It's going to be some kind of fuel supply. So that takes us to this paragraph. Greater supply, we have the phrase demand grew rapidly, there with something in between, but that shows a greater supply. Required, needed, to power, to run. Power can also be energy, so we know we're in the right place, but here power is a verb, so to run is the direct synonym. Steam engines, steam-powered transportation. Okay, so what do they need? What is the fuel that is mentioned here? Coal is the answer. So number 2, coal. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and these are both about the textile industry. Textiles are materials or clothes. Number 3, before the Industrial Revolution, spinners and weavers worked at home and in what? Spinners and weavers, types of jobs, like teachers and lawyers. But where did they work at home and somewhere else. With this video, if you want to pause the video at any point to try and find the answer yourself, feel free. But what I did for this one was, I found before matched up with prior to the Industrial Revolution. It mentions spinners, weavers and dryers. So 3 different types of jobs there. Worked at home, so work performed in small workshops or even homes. So we're looking for 2 places where they worked. Worked at home and in what? So what does it say there? In small workshops. However, it's one word only. So we'll choose workshops. Small wouldn't work on its own as that's just an adjective. So number 3, workshops, like very small factories. Okay, moving on to number 4. It's in the same section. Not as much something was needed to produce cloth once the spinning jenny and power loom were invented. Right, not as much, relatively little, needed, required, and there in yellow we've found spinning jenny and power loom, which shows we're in the right place. So, what wasn't as needed? As much of what wasn't needed? Relatively little labour was required. Not as much labour was needed. Therefore, labour or workforce, workers, number 4. 5 and 6 are about the iron industry. So let's look at number 5. Smelting of iron ore with coke resulted in material that was better. What? And here is a paragraph that talks about the British iron industry. So we're going to find the answers in there. First, number 5, smelting of iron ore with coke. There, that's the same phrase there. This is not cola, by the way. When it says coke, it's a different type of fuel. Resulted in, produced, the metals are the materials, perhaps, that were of better, what, higher, what, quality. So the answer to number 5, quality. And then number 6, demand for iron increased with the growth of the what. So demand is there again, and growth of can be expansion of what. The railways is what is growing or expanding. Railways. Now the answer guide says that railway singular is also acceptable, but the word in the passage is railways, so I think that should be the better option. Number 7, this is now about urbanisation, which is towns growing bigger. The new cities were dirty, crowded, and lacked sufficient what? So dirty can be substituted for pollution. Crowded, it says overcrowded. And lacked sufficient, that means not enough. And inadequate is another word for not enough. Sanitation. So that's going to be the answer for number 7. Sanitation means clean water, toilets that work, that kind of thing. Okay, moving on to questions 8 to 13. These are true, false, not given questions based on the same passage. Choose true if the statement agrees with the information, false if the statement contradicts or disagrees with the information, and not given if there's no information on this. Question 8. Britain's canal network grew rapidly so that more goods could be transported around the country. Right, so let's find some of these words in this section which mentions canals. So canal network there in yellow, canals. Goods could be transported, used to carry goods. Okay, so we know the answer must be in this bit if it's there at all. But grew rapidly. There's no information about how quickly the canal network grew or if it was already there, maybe it didn't grow at all. So we know that goods were transported on the canals, but there's no information about it growing, so we have to go with not given. Now, at first that looked like it was going to be a true, so you do need to be very careful with all parts of the question. Number 9. Costs in the iron industry rose when the technique of smelting iron ore with coke was introduced. Now, we've already seen a bit about smelting iron ore with coke, so it must be in that same section we've seen before. But costs in the iron industry rose. Let's look here. So we're smelting. Cost rose means that the price went up. However, the passage says that this method was cheaper, which is the opposite of costs rising. Therefore, the correct answer for number 9, false. Number 10. Samuel Morse's communication system was more reliable than that developed by William Cooke and Charles Wheatstone. So I found this passage here with Morse, Cooke and Wheatstone all being mentioned, so the answer must be here. There they all are. And the key part to the question here, was the system more reliable? And the system was soon used for railway signalling, so we know it must have been fairly reliable. But was it any more reliable than the other one, or less reliable? It doesn't say. So there is no information on reliability. Therefore, not given is the correct answer for number 10. 11. The economic benefits of industrialization were limited to certain sectors of society. Okay, so we've got this bit here about the country's economic output, so we're in the right place. Limited to certain sectors of society, though. We have middle class and upper class people. Okay, so it improved, benefits improved for those two. However, poor people continued to struggle. So not all sectors of society had their living standard improved. There weren't benefits for everyone. So that means the answer is true. Limited means not everyone. In this case, there we go. Number 12. Some skilled weavers believed that the introduction of the new textile machines would lead to job losses. Now this sounds like it's likely to be true. Now, they probably did, but is that information in the passage? So we've got skilled weavers, that are people who spent years learning their craft. That's another way to say that they're skilled. They feared that unskilled machine operators were robbing them of their livelihood, so taking their jobs. Livelihood is a way of making money. So yeah, the information is there. That one is true. Thought it would be. And number 13. There was some sympathy among local people for the Luddites who were arrested near Huddersfield. So Luddites and Huddersfield, keywords there, and that helps us to find the right section of the reading passage. Okay, so that's in yellow. But sympathy among local people, there's no information there about people's opinions on the arrests. There may have been some sympathy, we just don't know. So, not given is the answer for number 13. That's the end of section 1. So now let's look at reading section 2. Again, it says 20 minutes on this passage. It's questions 14 to 26. And the title of the passage is Athletes and Stress. Questions 14 to 18. So passage 2 has 6 paragraphs and they're labelled A to F. You need to choose which paragraph contains the following information. So for these ones, you just need to write the letter A to F beside the answers. Now, this bit's important. You may use any letter more than once. So, 14. Reference to 2 chemical compounds which impact on performance. Let's look at section D, or paragraph D of this section. And here we have a mention of adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline. These are two chemical compounds. You may not have heard of these before, so it can be quite difficult to know that they are chemical compounds. However, it does say production of, they are stress hormones, and it then goes on to describe what they do, their impact on performance. So that is the right answer. High-level vocabulary here. 15. Examples of strategies for minimizing the effects of stress. So strategies, what can you do? Minimize, reduce. And those can be found in section F. Let's look at why this is the answer. Well, the examples of the strategies. Language that people use, talking about it as excitement rather than nerves. Visualization is another strategy when you make a mental picture of something you've done well. Or recreating the pressure during training is another way that you can minimize the effects. Okay, so F is the correct answer for number 15. 16. How a sports person accounted for their own experience of stress. So here we're looking for a sports star who's talking about their own experience, and that can be found in section A. So the sports person is British tennis player Emma Raducanu, accounted for, attributed to, or even just told the story of. So there she talked about how she had difficulty breathing, and it was the accumulation of excitement. 16A. 17. Study results indicating links between stress responses and performance. That can be found in paragraph C. So, study indicating, research shows, and the links between these things, something leads to another thing. 17C. 18. Mention of people who can influence how athletes perceive their stress responses. We saw this before in the bit about visualization and using language. So the people who can influence them, people such as psychologists, but also coaches and parents. So there's three different types of people mentioned. 18F. Next, oh yeah, let's just go back and look at this. You may use any letter more than once. So we have used F before, which might make people think that it can't be there, but the instructions say you can use any letter more than once. So it's F again. Right, so on to questions 19 to 22, and here we need to choose one word only from the passage to fill in the gaps. Right. 19. Performance stress involves many demands on the athlete. For example, coping with the possible risk of what? Now you might be able to think of some possible risks to athletes that stress might include, but we can find the answer in section B. So pause the video, have a look and see if you can find the missing word here. Remember, it's one word only. Performance stress there in green, so we know we're in the right place. But possible, potential, risk, dangers of injury. So they might hurt themselves. That's what it's saying. If they're competing under stress, injury, the correct answer there. Cortisol can cause tennis players to produce fewer good what? Again, we've seen cortisol before, so we know it must be in this section. So they produce fewer good what? Well, we've got tennis players there and we've got cortisol, so we know we're in the right place. But in blue, when it says fewer good, that's another way of saying more unsuccessful. What? Serves. Serves is the answer to number 20. So in tennis, when you throw the ball up and hit it for the first time, that's called a serve. 21. Psychologists can help athletes to view their physiological responses to the effect of a positive feeling such as what? So we're looking for an example of a positive feeling. And we can find that in paragraph F, because we had psychologists before, so we know it must be the right way. Here we have to view in green, positive feeling, excitement's a positive feeling. So that's the answer. There we go. 21, excitement. 22, something is an example of a psychological technique which can reduce an athlete's stress response. Right, we've already looked at psychologists and reducing stress. So it's going to be in this bit. We need an example of a technique. So we had use of language. We also had recreating competitive pressure, but we need one word only. So reduce, decrease. We've got psychological skills, where it could be psychological technique, and as an example of, there is such as. So that's a big clue there, that the answer we need is a visualization. Visualization is an example. There we go, 22. 23 and 24. Here we have 5 options and 2 of them are correct answers. Now for this type of question, if, for example, the 2 correct ones are A and B, you can write A and B, or you can write B and A. So it doesn't matter which way round you write them for 23 and 24. Both will be acceptable. The question says, which 2 facts about Emma Raducanu's withdrawal from the Wimbledon tournament are mentioned in the text? Now we saw Emma Raducanu mentioned in paragraph A, so let's get that back up. 2 of these are mentioned in there and 3 are not. Okay, so we've got her withdrawal from Wimbledon. There's Emma Raducanu, so we know we're in the right section. A, the stage at which she dropped out of the tournament. Okay, so here by stage it means semi-finals or first round, something like that. How far along had she got? It does say the player had been doing well in the tournament, but it doesn't say exactly how far she got. So we can rule that one out. The stage is not mentioned. Let's have a look at B. Symptoms of her performance: difficulty regulating her breathing and heart rate. So she's having breathing problems. Her heart rate is possibly going through the roof. These are symptoms. So B, that one is correct. That one is mentioned there. Let's have a look at C. Measures she takes to manage her stress levels. Well, I don't see anything about what she was doing to manage it, so we can take that one out. D, aspects of the Wimbledon tournament which increased her stress levels. The aspects that increased the levels, so the accumulation of the excitement and the buzz. That is correct. These are the aspects that increased her levels. But let's just take a look at E and see if that one is there or not. Reactions to her social media posts. It does mention her social media. So she wrote something on social media. She has made some posts, but did people react to it? No mention of that. So that one can go, and that just confirms that B and D are correct. So for 23 and 24, the answers need to be B and D, or D and B. 25 and 26, the same type of question. And here we have, which 2 facts about anxiety are mentioned in paragraph E of the text? Great, it tells us which paragraph we need to look at here, so we don't need to worry about that at all. Go straight to paragraph E. And as we can see, it's about anxiety, so we're definitely in the right place. But let's look at them one by one and decide which two facts are mentioned. A, the factors which determine how severe it might be. Okay, so factors and how severe. The severity can also be called the intensity. So how severe is the intensity? And the factors are the demands and the resources. So actually, yep, straight away, A is mentioned in paragraph E. So let's put a circle around that one for now. That looks like it's a correct answer. Let's check the others. B, how long it takes for the effects to become apparent. I couldn't find anything there about the length of time it takes for these symptoms to appear. So I'm going to rule that one out. C. Which of its symptoms is most commonly encountered? Well, it says that anxiety is a common experience, but it doesn't say which of the symptoms happen the most often. So C is gone. Then D, the types of athletes who are more likely to suffer from it. Anything there about types of athletes? No. So it could really be anyone that it could affect. It doesn't go into specifics, which leaves us with A. So if we're right so far, then A must be correct. E must be correct, sorry. The harm that can result if athletes experience it too often. So too often, repeated episodes. And what kind of harm? Heart disease or depression. So yes, E is there as well. So for 25 and 26, your answers should be A and E in either order. Right, we now move on to section 3 of the reading test, the final section. And this passage, again, it says 20 minutes on this. So it recommends you spend 20 minutes on each section. You don't have to. Some you might get through a bit quicker, some might take a little bit longer, but it's a good guide to have in your mind to make sure that you don't run out of time for the last one. So if you spent 30 minutes on passage 1 and passage 2, you'll have no time left for passage 3. You do have to work quite quickly in these tests. It's not a lot of time and there is a lot to get through. But passage 3, the title is An Inquiry into the Existence of the Gifted Child. Questions 27 to 32, there's a summary and you need to fill in the gaps using one of the letters, A to K, from the options given. So here we can see the full passage with questions 27 to 32 and the different options we can choose from. And these words will not be the same as the words in the passage, but they're likely to be synonyms. So have a quick look at the different words. Hopefully you'll know what they mean, and even better if you know some synonyms of them. So we have appeal, determined, intrigued, single, achievement, devoted, involved, unique, innovative, satisfaction, and intent. Now, some of these words are nouns, some of them are adjectives, so that can also help if you know what type of word it is to make it fit in. Right, so let's just move that there and look at 27. Miriam Mirzakhani is regarded as what in the field of mathematics because she was the only female holder of the prestigious Fields Medal. Now really, we don't even need to look at the passage to find the answer to this one. She was the only woman to win the Fields Medal. That's pretty much the same as it said in the question. And because you're the only one, which word from the options means the same as the only one? That would be unique. So the correct answer to 27 is H. But we can actually find the answer to that from the question before we even look at the passage. But the passage just says the same thing. 28 and 29 here. So, however, maths held little something for her as a child. Okay, let's have a look there. So held little. Maths wasn't her interest, it says in the passage. So what's another way that we can describe that? It held little interest would work, but that's not an option. So which word means the same as that? That's going to be A, appeal. It held little appeal. And moving on to 29, there's a word that we're going to highlight in yellow. She was something by a difficult puzzle that one of her siblings showed her. So siblings, brothers and sisters, and in the passage we've found elder brother. Difficult puzzle, famous maths problem. Okay, so she was something, she was fascinated, she was hooked by the puzzle. So which word means a similar thing? C, intrigued. That means you're really interested in something. It's really got your attention. So 28A, 29C. Then 30, 31 and 32 are next. So she had an inquiring mind and proved herself to be what when things did not go smoothly. So in this section, setbacks are an example of things not going smoothly. So she proved herself to be resolute. Now, which word means the same as resolute? So resolute sort of means you don't give up, you keep going. Determined is a synonym of resolute. So for 30, B. She said she was not the greatest something from making groundbreaking discoveries. She got the greatest what? So making groundbreaking discoveries. We've got discovery, something new. So what did she get the greatest of? We can link that with the phrase most rewarding. And that goes best with J, satisfaction. She got the most satisfaction. It was the most rewarding, so she got the most satisfaction. J. And 32, mathematical studies, research into mathematics. So she was responsible for some extremely original research, or original mathematical studies. So which word means the same as original? Innovative means new. So it's a bit like unique as well, but innovative is better, so I is the answer. 30B, 31J, 32I. Then on to 33 to 37, and these questions are yes, no, not given questions. You need to choose yes if the statement agrees with the claims of the writer, no if the statement disagrees or contradicts the claims of the writer, and not given if we cannot tell what the writer thinks. Remember, this is not about your opinion, it's not about if something is a fact or not, it's about the writer's opinion and claims. So start with 33. Many people who ended up winning prestigious intellectual prizes only reached an average standard when young. Let's have a look at this here. So many people who ended up winning. We've got the phrase most winners. And prestigious intellectual prizes, the Nobel Prize is an example of that. Average standard when young, unexceptional in childhood. So this is starting to sound quite similar in many ways, so we'll go with yes. That statement does agree with the writer's claim. 34. Einstein's failures as a young man were due to his lack of confidence. Here's a bit about Einstein, and also failed. So it said he was slow to talk as a baby, he failed the general test of the entry exam, and at work he struggled a bit. But it doesn't mention anything about his level of confidence. He may have been confident, he may not. The answer is not given. 35. It's difficult to reach agreement on whether some children are actually born gifted. So here we have a bit about children being born, right? So innate is a word that means when you are born, or something you're born with. And the phrase difficult to reach agreement matches up with the idiom the jury is out. The jury is out means not everyone agrees on something. So yes is the answer to 35. Quite difficult, this question, because you need to know the word innate, which is very high level vocabulary, and you need to know the phrase the jury is out, which is an idiom. So yeah, that's a difficult one, but yes is the answer. I think a lot of people might have gone with not given on this one. On to 36. Einstein was upset by the public's view of his work. Now for this one, you need to then go right to the end of the passage where Einstein is mentioned again. Don't get caught up at the early stages where Einstein is first mentioned. Right. So he was upset about the public's view. He struggled against rejection. So academic bodies, they rejected him. They said you can't work here or something like that. But that's not the public's view. And then towards the end it said, most people say it's the intellect which makes a great scientist. They are wrong, it's character. So that's talking about what people say, but that's not the public's view of his work. So there's a bit about being upset, there's a bit about people's views, there's a bit about his work, but not all together in a way that would agree with that. So we have to go not given on this one. So he may have been upset by their opinions, it doesn't say. 37. Einstein put his success down to the speed at which he dealt with scientific questions. So in the same bit, we have speed. So I stay with problems longer. Right, so that means he doesn't give up, he keeps going. He might take a long time to do with the question. But was he successful because he was so fast? No, he was not. It's because he didn't give up. So he may have taken longer. It's not about the overall speed though. So 37, no. And the last section. Here we have 38 to 40. It's multiple choice A, B, C or D. Let's look at these. What does Eyre believe is needed for children to equal gifted standards? We have 4 different options. We're going to look for Eyre's name in the passage, and we can find it in this section. This bit here, children talked about the need to work hard at school, to listen in class and keep trying. That matches up with the development of a spirit of inquiry towards their studies. So C is the correct answer for number 38. What was the result of Erickson's research? So again, we look for Erickson in the passage, and we've got this bit here about research, after research. So here we have the results. This section, he doesn't think unique and innate talents are at the heart of performance. There's that word innate again, so something you are born with. And this matches up with B. So he doesn't think that, so it's not a key factor, and innate meaning born. So B, correct answer for 39. And the final question of this reading test, number 40. In the penultimate paragraph, it stated the key to some deprived children's success is what? Penultimate means second last, or the one before the final one. So we can find that paragraph here. That's the second last paragraph. Then free school meals. Well, it said nourishing diet at home. So we can rule that one out. More than one parent. We've got adult or adults. So it could be adult singular, so it doesn't need to be more than one parent. C talks about a community with well-funded facilities, but actually he's talking about disadvantaged areas, which is the opposite. However, the guidance of someone who recognises the benefits of learning, that's someone who valued and supported education. That's what they need. D is the correct answer to number 40. Right, here are all of the answers. So if you've been trying this test along at home, you can check your answers here. Pause the video now if you want to mark your paper, if we haven't already. And then you can check your score and see what band score you would have achieved. So for example, if you had 27 correct answers out of 40, you would then equate that to a band score 6. Oh no, 27 is 6.5. Actually, very good. Okay. At this point, if there's any questions that you didn't get correct, go back and look at them. Try to understand why you got those answers wrong and what you need to do to get it right next time. It might be a case of learning some new vocabulary or just taking a bit more time to read the questions carefully, that kind of thing. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you find this video useful. Good luck with your ongoing studies. If you have an upcoming test, keep practicing, and I hope it goes well. Now that we've reached the end of the video, please give me a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one, and leave a comment down below with your score or with the bits that you found the most difficult. Please tune into another Traveller's Guide IELTS video in the future. Bye for now.